So the session is being recorded. And then I'm going to share my screen. And I'm going to go into presentation mode. Just I think I'm going into presentation mode.
Yep, you're there.
There it goes. Perfect. Okay. So welcome, everybody. Thank you very much for joining our TechByte here this month. We wanted to discuss something that I think is very timely, which is our both our Cyber Resiliency team, which essentially is pen testing and other assessments, and also our incident response team. I know a lot of companies decide in the beginning of the year they're going to do a assessment, and probably around now, since it's still pretty early in the year, they're doing some of their research into what kind of assessment, who will be doing it, and so on. So I think this is pretty timely. There we go. So first, why do you need a cyber resilience test, right? There's a lot of reasons. The main one that we see most often is that a company needs to meet either a compliance or a regulatory mandate. PCI, HIPAA have very explicit instructions on how you must have a test a certain number of times. There's other ones though. There's contractual obligations, right? There could be an acquisition and a company needs to get a pen test before they're acquired. Could also be like a partnership type of scenario. We see that more and more, where one company wants to partner with another company for some purpose, and the first company says, well, we'll give you access to our systems, assuming you have seen the results of a pen test and that you've had one recently and so forth. It could be a post-action following an incident, right? Unfortunately, if you had some kind of cybersecurity breach, obviously a pen test is a real good way to go ahead and learn if you've remediated those steps. A lot of companies want to be proactive instead of being reactive. This is a way to test the cybersecurity program you've built. And then the last one that's not here that I'll throw into the hat, a lot of companies are buying cyber insurance these days. And many times the cyber insurance company requires you to have a regular pen test, usually once a year, could be more or less frequently. And what are the benefits of that, right? Regular testing allows you to anticipate threats and potential risks by identifying your security gaps, which is the main thing, right? But you also can reveal how resilient your systems really are, right? Do we have the type of protection that we think we have? And are we in the position that we believe ourselves to be? You can also learn a lot about your own internal team, right? What do we do in this type of a scenario? Who's responsible? I never really thought about who should be responsible for these things before. So that can come out of a test too. Of course, you'll learn your vulnerabilities and mitigate them. And then the last one, protect the company's reputation and customer loyalty. That last bullet item is one of those things where it's really hard to kind of try to put a dollar value on, and also it's hard to really gauge what the risk and what the type of damage would be. However, I think a lot of us would say that we've seen in the past where there's companies that do a lot of good things. They do their business well, and then they have an incident, and that's all everybody's talking about. You even like Target, right? That was years ago, that big breach. I believe it was 2013, so it's 8 or 9 years ago. And when a lot of us talk about Target, they're a large company. They sell a lot of things at a great price, and they have locations all over the country. And when you bring up Target, a lot of us still say, "Oh, you remember when they, lost everybody's credit card?" So it's hard to get that back. I guess is what I'm saying. Any questions so far? I'm going to take a quick peek. Don't see anything in the chat, which that doesn't surprise me. Okay, so we'll keep going. So what types of tests do we offer here at Checkpoint? We do external pen testing, right? We will approach as if we were on the internet the way a hacker would, and see what we can learn about your external systems. Internal facing, so we will get the ability to be on your network from you as if we had breached your network as a hacker, and then see what we can do internally. Wireless test, so we will actually do a lot of auditing on your wireless networking. How is it built? How what kind of levels of access are on it? What can we gain access to? What devices are also on that wireless network? Things like that. These last two, web app, so we will test your web applications for code security, and mobile apps, test any mobile apps you develop for their own internal security. I want to get back to them in a minute because I think it's critical to understand that Checkpoint's own prevention products that we sell is making those last two tests extremely stronger all the time, and much more. They're up to the minute, right? They're up to the minute on what is going on in the industry. The other two tests we offer, it says available soon, but we have them. Social engineering, so we can do phishing attacks, we can do phony phone calls, we can do a few other techniques to try to trick your users into doing certain actions. And then IoT and industrial control systems. That's a newer one for us. That's a pretty cool one. If you have a lot of IP cameras, smart locks, smart thermostats, smart blenders or vending machines or whatever, we can learn a lot about how can those things be accessed, what OSs, what versions of their OS they're running, what's their vulnerabilities, et cetera, et cetera. So that's definitely a cool one too. And we do these tests 3 different ways depending on what you would like to do. We do a black box test where we have literally no information. The only information is we're looking for your company, and we'll use our methods to search and find out as much as we can about your company from an external point of view. And we will learn about the machines that we can see externally, the way that this is truly the way a hacker would do. Probably more common of a scenario is we do like the gray box. So we'll usually get from you information about IP ranges or a set of machines that you want to have tested. Maybe we'll learn a tiny bit about them. Is it a Linux server, a Windows server? What is it? What kind of a server is it? But not a whole lot of information. We'll get a little bit. Then it's on us to get to see what we can find out about it from there. Usually that gives you a nice view of, hey, let's skip the heavy recon steps and assume that a hacker has a little bit of information about us and see what can be done. We also do white box. White box is literally, we ask you for basically every piece of information you have on the machine. We may ask you for username and password access to certain subnets or things like that. So we essentially, we're a white box attack is you're giving us pretty much everything you can about the machine, and we see what can be done to it. Okay. So what's our methodology? Like, how do we do this stuff, right? First step, we do reconnaissance. Our team gathers information on the relevant assets and the relevant people, right? A lot of these tests are not only about machines, they're also about who is doing these things, what is this person's role, so on and so forth. Scanning and enumeration. So we begin to learn about the machines themselves. We do scanning, we do manual testing, we find entry points. we can exploit them, right? So we use our own advanced tools and attack methodologies. We're going to dive into this on a subsequent slide, but you got to remember that here at Checkpoint, it is very much our business to be up on what's going on in the industry. So when we use these techniques, they're not something that's been in Metasploit since 1985. It's, a new, modern, realistic, attack tool. Documentation. So of course, once we have scanned and exploited a machine, we thoroughly document what happened, how did we do it, what were the steps, what was gained through this attack, and we assign it a severity level, right? So of course, not everything is a 5-alarm fire. We want to make sure that we pick the 5-alarm fires first to fix those before we start picking the little, nothing, little nothing embers there. And then lastly, we provide steps to remediate the issues we find. So why Checkpoint, right? There's hundreds of companies that do this stuff. Why Checkpoint? First, the tester is always a Checkpoint employee. Okay, they're wearing the same badge that Mark and I are wearing. They get their check from the same place. So there's no outsourcing, there's no external contractors, there's no person we never met before and we just know, have a resume we looked at. This is someone that we know that will deliver the kind of quality that Checkpoint that customers demand from Checkpoint, right? And then this part, the tactical support, is pretty critical to understand, right? Remember that when you're dealing with Checkpoint as your auditor, we have this, we're a huge international company. We have over 5,000 employees, and a lot of them are on our research team, right? It's our business to know the latest attacks, the latest vulnerabilities, what's going on in the industry, what kind of things are we seeing, what kind of hacker groups, what are they up to these days? We're on top of that to begin with, and so the people who do the test from Checkpoint have access to those people, to those teams. They also have access to our incident response team. So our incident response team can work both ways on this. They are literally boots on the ground and see true attacks that are going on today, right now. And so they're a wealth of information. And then B, if we were to discover something during the testing, we can bring those guys in easily and tell them where we're at, what we saw, and they might say, hey, we've discovered something here, hold on. So that's a big one. Professional services, once we find a vulnerability or something in our assessment, if you so choose, we can involve our professional services team very easily to come and help you with fixing those issues. And then R&D, right? So this is again like a two-way street one. The things we find in a pen test or in a mobile app testing or a web app, our research and development team will we can work with them to either add some kind of capability that we might not have today or enhance one that we have to do a certain thing. Conversely, those guys might say, hey, we've seen this before and we have something in the hopper in beta, and we'd love for you to try it, Mr. and Mrs. Customer. So when you deal with Checkpoint's cyber resiliency team, you're getting all of Checkpoint, right? All the threat research, all the capabilities we have. And of course, Checkpoint's a worldwide leader securing the internet for really close to 30 years at this point. We have hundreds of thousands of organizations all over the world of all sizes that we deal with. So we see a wide variety of attacks. We have more than a decade of offensive and defensive cyber experience, proven record. And then, we have our advanced proprietary tools and attack methodologies. Part of us building, our firewalls, our endpoint protection, our cloud products is that we have access and we even build hacking tools, right? So or I should say testing tools, not true hacking tools. So we have the tools in our toolbox, right? We use them for many things, and this is another way to use them.
Hey, Joe.
Yes, sir.
I just wanted to make a comment about that as we're talking about, pen testing and looking for vulnerabilities. But we also have, just from an ongoing perspective, that folks should know about some managed services that do this on a 7x24, 365 basis. For example, we have a managed detection and response service. So, that's a managed service which kind of overlooks the network and uses all these proprietary tools and research and threat cloud information in order to, on a daily basis, manage the threats, manage the vulnerabilities, and take proactive action and reactive action as well to kind of help a client manage that manage threats, over the course of a year.
That's a great point, Mark. That's a great point, Mark. The managed service that we have is in a way you could say it's almost like an ongoing pen test, right?
Right.
So that is a great point. Okay. So how does it work, right? What's the process? It's pretty easy. We have a scoping call with someone from our cyber resiliency team with you to discover what you want to do and what the various things to include and exclude from a test. We deliver a scope of work. Customer reviews it, and if they like it, we may go back and forth, make a few changes. But if the customer likes it, you'll send us a PO. We create the project. You sign off on the document, which includes the rules of engagement, and then the project is scheduled. It's not a particularly complex process to go from first scoping these to actually beginning these projects. And what's the results, right? What's the outcome? This is the most important part. We give you a detailed report containing remediation steps, and I actually have a sample report I could give you, and I'll show it to you for just a second here. You get a detailed report. It is password protected. It is sent directly to the customer. So it's not sent to the partner and the account team and all these other people. It is a strictly A to B conversation because, obviously these things are very privileged information. What you do with it once you have the report is your own business, of course. Once you get the report, there will be steps to remediate. You can do it. You can work with a partner to do it. We can engage our professional services to do it, which is very easy once we have that report. And then the key thing here, and I think this is really cool, and I know not every company does this part. Once you remediate the issue, right, or issues, you get back to us, and that same pen tester will redo those attacks that found a vulnerability. Okay. They'll redo it and see that your fix that you did took hold and that you're now protected from that attack. So it's pretty cool that we retest those things, right? Okay, so that's that on the assessments and cyber resiliency testing. I'll hold for just a second for any questions. I'm going to look in the Q&A. I don't think I see any currently. Okay, and if you come up with one for the assessments while we're doing the incident response overview, of course, I'd be happy to answer any questions about that. So it's incident response. There's not been a real huge change in the last few years. If anything, it's just been an accelerated pace, right? Hackers continue to target everybody, right? They don't care. They don't care that you're a large corporation. They don't care that you're a small school. They don't care that you're a nursing home. If they can get access to things, they will, right? Now, obviously, they do a lot of things. There's a lot of different types of attacks, kind of based on what they're trying to get, right? So, uh, financially lucrative targets, yes. A Bank of America, Goldman Sachs, various forms of government, you know, federal, state, local. They're all, definitely targets for one reason or another, and they're targeted pretty frequently, right? But also small businesses. Who might not have, and the reason why the small business is often a target is because they don't have a huge IT team, right? And they need to uh, wear a lot of hats, and so there's usually a less resistance at those type of targets. And then, of course, your users are still your biggest vulnerability. And then somebody asked, "Can I please get a copy of the presentation?" Video and PowerPoint. And yes, I will absolutely post this video to YouTube probably later this afternoon, which all the other tech bites, the monthly tech bites, are also on there. And then yes, I can share out the PowerPoint as well. Okay, let's go ahead. So how do we help with this, right? What does incident response do? Our incident response, a lot of people understand there is an incident, we respond, right? But there's a lot more to it. There's a lot more that we do than just that. Our incident response team really looks at it as the holistic approach, right? First, we must prepare for a cyber attack, right? We understand that, you can do all the right things and you may still have an issue, right? And so we must prepare for when that will happen, right? It's kind of like a hurricane, right? We know the hurricane will come, right? Just because it's the winter and we don't have them now, we know there will be hurricanes. So we should build, seawalls and dams and dunes and whatever other things we got to do to protect ourselves, right? Then, of course, the handling the incidents, right? The part where something has happened and we step right in and help you out to get you back where you need to be. And then once we've done that, protecting customers, right? What is the next steps? What's the ongoing thing that must be done, right? And to kind of enumerate that better. So prior to an incident, we can help you with alert and threat validation, right? You find out that there's this log4j vulnerability out there, and you can go ahead and invoke us, and we can help you with determining, are you vulnerable to log4j? What can we do? How can we go about fixing this? What's a good plan, right? The second one, incident response planning, is really an awesome one, and we've done this for a few of our customers at this point, Mark and I. We will come in and help you build a detailed plan for when something happens in multiple scenarios. Who handles it? Who at the company will contact what resources? What will be the first steps? So it's really nice that when something happens, you have the playbook, right? We augment your intelligence to help with to help with what you've learned about your environment, and a maturity assessment, right? We will actually take a look at what you have today and determine where you're at with your incident response plan. During an incident, we bring in equipment, whether it be a physical device, whether it be licenses for our endpoint clients. In ransomware attacks, we'll put our endpoint client on their machines to do a lot of work. Cloud as well. So we bring in the equipment, and it's free to you for the duration of the incident. So you can also learn a little bit about that and see what it sees. We offer a 30-minute SLA, which is critical, right? We need to be fast when we have an incident. And then during the incident, our number one concern is to get you back to where your business is operating correctly, right? We take all the forensics we need while we're doing it, but we need to get you back where you're operating. And so that's the key thing, right? We're fast to get you back to operating. And then after, there's a full report, both executive and technical level, to go ahead and describe what happened, what information was learned. There's also the remediation steps, right? We will actually help you fix during an incident. We will actually help you fix what happened. If we found out that you have open SSH access to a web service, for example, we will help you to fix that. Or if we find out that you had some kind of vulnerability to a certain worming malware, we will help you with fixing that too. And then we will also help you assess what damage was done during the incident. Now I see a couple of questions. So the other thing we can do, and Mark brought it up, and it's a great point, is it's actually, I think, my next slide. We can do a lot of things, right? We can do this a lot of ways. We can make a specific engagement, right? Especially like that incident response planning. Hey, we're going to do a certain job and build out this playbook. But we can also do blocks, right? We could do a block of incident response time so that you have essentially a retainer, right? Hey, if something happened, we have a retainer. We'll call you guys, and you're ready to go. It can be any way you want to do it. And if you do buy a block of time, a retainer, we do offer other ways to use it. If you haven't, if thankfully you haven't had an incident, we can help with some other things. We can also, you can extend it. You can extend the block of hours for a small fee, which is kind of neat too, because a lot of times you kind of use it or lose it, but we try not to do that. The incident response process at a super high level. If an attack occurs, you contact the incident response team. They begin the remote session. They obtain samples and logs. They perform their analysis on that information. They'll make their containment actions so the attack doesn't spread, and they will continue to provide assistance until the issue is remediated and the case is fully closed. And of course, that takes a wide variety of forms depending on what kind of an incident it is. And then perhaps the most important thing in this whole call, this whole presentation or at least for the incident response half of it. If you have an incident, if God forbid you had an incident today, don't worry that you don't have a contract with Checkpoint for this. Don't worry that you don't have a block of hours purchased. Don't worry about any of that. Call that number, 1-866-923-0907, or email emergency response to Checkpoint. If you Google Checkpoint incident response, it'll take you to this information. Call us. We have a mind to help first, right? We're going to help first, and then we'll figure out the details as we go, right? Don't be afraid. If there's something that happens, reach out to us. So I think that's the end. Yep, that's the end of the slide deck. I will go back to the Q&A. Don't see any further ones. The chat had a few. There we go. Presentation. Sure. Oh, and then one more thing that Mark wanted me to bring up. Both tests, but especially the incident response team, we are vendor agnostic, right? When the incident response comes in, we don't say, oh no, you have a brand X, whatever company it is, firewall, we don't touch those, or we won't help you with those. We are going to help you to resolve this. So if the issue resides in your, Cisco or F5 network or extreme network gear, if it resides in your, Windows devices and your Linux devices, if it resides in some IoT thing, we're going to work with you to fix that, right? We're totally vendor agnostic when it comes to these engagements. So. Okay. So I don't see any further questions, and I know we're actually like a minute or two over already. So I hope that this was helpful. And if you have any further questions, just feel free to email me, of course. Email Mark, of course. Then we'd love to help you out. And if you're interested in learning more about any of these things, reach out. We'll schedule a session with someone from one of those teams, either the Cyber Resiliency team or the incident response team. We'll schedule a call with one of those people so you can really get the deep down details and really get every question answered.
Right. I just wanted to add for everybody that it's very, very customizable and flexible. So if you want to, just do certain things or concentrate in certain areas, just let us know that. We'll tailor the program to that and do whatever you specifically need. So, we do have out of the box, descriptions of our services, but they become very, very customized and tailored to what you really need.
No, exactly. Precisely. And even like we described those 7 different tests for the cyber resiliency testing. Sometimes we end up doing some kind of hybrid test between them, so it's not very rigid. Just like Mark said, it's extremely flexible. Awesome. So I don't see any further questions. Again, if you want to learn more, please, by all means, reach out to us. And I appreciate you guys hopping on. I hope this was very helpful, and hopefully we'll talk soon. Have a great day.